For most of human history, money did not exist. There were no dollars, no pesos, no gold coins. If you were a farmer who grew apples, but you needed a new pair of shoes, you had a problem. You had to find a shoemaker who wanted apples. But what if the shoemaker didn't like apples? What if he wanted bananas instead? This was the world of barter. People traded goods and services directly for other goods and services. It sounds simple, but honestly, it was incredibly complicated. It was a world built on a double coincidence of wants, where two people each had to have something the other desired at the exact same moment. This system created immense friction in human societies. Imagine trying to build a great temple or a city wall using only barter. The stonemason needs bread, the baker needs wood, the lumberjack needs a new axe, the blacksmith who makes the axe needs wool for a coat, the shepherd who provides the wool needs stone for his house. Coordinating all these individual needs and wants was a logistical nightmare. It kept economies small and local. You could only trade with people you knew, or people who happened to need what you had in abundance. The potential for large-scale cooperation was severely limited by this clumsy method of exchange. The challenges went even deeper. How many apples is a pair of shoes worth? 10, 100, 1,000? There was no standard unit of value. Every single trade had to be negotiated from scratch. This made it difficult to store wealth. Your apples would rot. Your chickens could get sick and die. You couldn't save up value for the future easily because your goods were perishable or difficult to maintain. Barter also made it impossible to have complex systems of credit or debt. How could a king collect taxes from thousands of subjects if every person paid in a different item, from fish to pottery to promises of labor? To overcome this, early societies developed proto-monies. These were commodities that everyone in a particular culture agreed had value. In some parts of Africa, people used cowrie shells. In ancient China, they used spades and knives made of bronze. In other places, it might be salt, cattle, or specific types of beads. These were better than bartering apples for shoes, because more people were willing to accept them. However, they still had problems. Shells could be collected from the beach, devaluing them. Cattle could not be easily divided to make a small purchase. A better, more universal solution was needed to unlock the true economic potential of humankind. The invention of coinage was not a single event but a gradual realization. It was the solution to the great problems of barter and commodity money. What if, instead of trading in things that had intrinsic use like cows or grain, people used something else? Something that was durable, portable, easily divisible, and, most importantly, whose value was guaranteed by a trusted authority. This was the revolutionary idea behind the coin. It wasn't just a piece of metal, it was a promise. It was an object whose worth was not just in the material it was made from, but in the trust people placed in it. The idea first took root in societies that were already using precious metals like gold and silver for trade. For centuries, merchants had been weighing out chunks of silver or gold dust to pay for goods. This was an improvement over barter, but it was still cumbersome. Every time you made a transaction, you had to bring out your scales. You had to verify the purity of the metal. Was this lump of silver pure, or was it mixed with less valuable lead? This constant need for weighing and testing slowed down commerce and created opportunities for cheating. A standardized solution was desperately needed. As trade networks grew larger and more complex, the genius of the coin was to take these lumps of metal and pre-package them. An authority, usually a king or a temple, would take a specific weight of a precious metal, like gold or silver. They would then stamp it with a symbol. This stamp was a guarantee. It said, "I, the king, certify that this piece of metal weighs a certain amount and is of a certain purity." Suddenly you no longer needed scales for every transaction. You didn't need to be an expert in metallurgy. You just had to trust the stamp. This simple act of stamping metal transformed it from a mere commodity into a true currency. This innovation was a powerful tool for rulers. By controlling the creation of coins, a king could control the economy. He could pay soldiers, fund public works, and collect taxes with unprecedented ease. The symbols stamped on the coins also served as a form of mass communication, a kind of ancient propaganda. Every coin that passed from hand to hand carried the image or symbol of the ruler who issued it. It was a constant, physical reminder of the king's power and authority, spreading his influence far beyond the palace walls and into the daily lives of every single one of his subjects. The world's first true coins appeared around 640 BC in the Kingdom of Lydia, in what is now modern-day Turkey. This region was perfectly situated. The rivers of Lydia, like the Pactolus River, were rich with a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver called electrum. For years, Lydians had used this shiny pale yellow metal for trade in its raw form, but it was the Lydian kings who took the crucial next step. They began to produce standardized, stamped pieces of this metal, creating the first coins and sparking a monetary revolution that would change the world forever. These earliest coins were not the perfectly round, machine-milled discs we know today. They were small, bean-shaped lumps of electrum. Their appearance was quite crude by modern standards. On one side, they were typically stamped with a simple design, often the symbol of the king or the city that issued them. One of the most common symbols was the head of a roaring lion, a powerful emblem of Lydian royalty. The other side of the coin, the reverse, usually had a rough-in-use punch mark, which was a result of the primitive manufacturing process used to strike the coin. The process of making these coins was straightforward but effective. A blank piece of electrum, heated to make it soft, was placed on an anvil that had a die with the lion's head carved into it. A punch was then placed on top of the blank, and it was struck hard with a hammer. This single forceful blow would impress the lion's head onto the front of the coin and simultaneously create the rough punch mark on the back. The value of these first coins was based on their weight, and they came in different sizes, from a full stater down to tiny fractions, allowing for both large and small transactions. The invention of coinage was a massive success. Lydian merchants, now armed with this convenient and trustworthy form of money, could trade more easily and over greater distances. The idea quickly spread to the neighboring Greek city-states in Ionia, and from there, across the Mediterranean world. Within just a few decades, the concept of using stamped metal as money was adopted by cultures from Persia to the Italian peninsula. The simple bean-shaped electrum coin from Lydia was the ancestor of every coin that would follow, the first chapter in the long and complex story of global currency. As the idea of coinage spread from Lydia, it was embraced and perfected by the ancient Greeks. Perhaps no Greek coin is more famous or historically significant than the Athenian tetradrachm, widely known as the owl. First minted in Athens around 510 BC, this silver coin became the most trusted and recognized international currency of its time, much like the US dollar is today. Its stability and high quality fueled the rise of Athens, financing its powerful navy, its magnificent building projects like the Parthenon, and its flourishing democracy. The owl was not just money, it was the engine of Athens' golden age. The design of the Athenian owl was iconic and remained remarkably consistent for centuries, a testament to its reliability. On the front, it featured the head of the goddess Athena, the patron deity of the city, depicted wearing a crested helmet. Her image represented the wisdom and military might of Athens. On the back, the coin featured her sacred animal, the owl, a symbol of wisdom. Alongside the owl was an olive sprig, representing peace and Athens' lucrative olive oil trade, and the letters Atta, a clear abbreviation for, of the Athenians. This simple, powerful design was recognized across the known world. The silver for these coins came from the rich mines at Laurion, a region not far from Athens. The discovery of a massive new vein of silver there in 483 BC was a pivotal moment. The Athenian leader Themistocles persuaded the citizens not to distribute the windfall among themselves, but to use it to build a fleet of 200 warships. This fleet proved decisive in the defeat of the Persian invasion at the Battle of Salamis in 480 BC, saving Greece and allowing Athenian culture to flourish. Every silver owl, therefore, carried with it the story of this crucial victory and the power it bestowed upon the city. The influence of the Athenian owl extended far beyond the borders of Greece. It was so trusted that it was accepted as payment in markets from Egypt to Persia to the distant Celtic tribes of Europe. Many other cities and kingdoms even began to produce their own imitations of the coin, copying its famous owl design to make their own currency seem more trustworthy. For hundreds of years, the image of Athena and her owl symbolized not just financial value, but the cultural and political dominance of Athens. It was a small silver disc that projected immense power. When the Roman Republic and later the Empire rose to dominate the Mediterranean, they inherited and massively expanded upon the Greek tradition of coinage. Roman coins became a critical tool for administering their vast and diverse territories. They were used to pay the legions of soldiers stationed in distant provinces, from Britain to Syria. They were used to collect taxes, fund the construction of roads, aqueducts, and cities, and to facilitate a thriving trade network that spanned 3 continents. Roman money was the lifeblood of the Roman world, a unifying force that connected a senator in Rome with a farmer in Egypt. Early Roman coins, like the silver denarius first introduced around 211 BC, followed the Greek model of featuring gods and goddesses or mythological symbols. However, a major shift occurred with Julius Caesar. In 44 BC, shortly before his assassination, he became the first living Roman to place his own portrait on a coin. This was a radical and honestly controversial act. Previously, it was considered an act of hubris, something reserved for kings and gods, not for the leaders of a republic. By putting his face on the denarius, Caesar was making a bold statement about his personal power and authority. After Caesar, this practice became the standard. Every emperor who followed put his own portrait on the coins issued during his reign. This turned the entire Roman monetary system into a powerful instrument of imperial propaganda. Coins were like pocket-sized billboards, spreading the image and titles of the emperor to every corner of the empire. They announced his military victories, celebrated his family members, and promoted his virtues like justice or peace. For many people living in the provinces, the face on a coin might be the only picture of the emperor they would ever see. It made the distant ruler a tangible presence in their daily lives. The Romans also standardized coin denominations across the empire, creating a complex but coherent system. The gold aureus was the highest value, followed by the silver denarius, and then various bronze and copper coins like the sestertius and the A's for smaller everyday transactions. This system allowed for a sophisticated economy where huge government payments and tiny market purchases could all be handled with the same family of currencies. The face of the emperor, stamped on billions of coins, was a constant reminder to all who used them that they were part of a single, powerful Roman system. The value and composition of coins have never been static. Throughout history, the metals used to make money have shifted based on availability, political power, and economic necessity. For centuries, silver was the backbone of most monetary systems, from the Athenian owl to the Roman denarius. It was plentiful enough for widespread use, but scarce enough to hold significant value. However, as empires grew wealthier and trade became more global, a higher value metal was needed for large transactions and for storing immense wealth. This led to the rise of gold as the ultimate standard of value. The Roman Empire had its gold aureus, but it was the Byzantine Empire, the successor to Rome in the East, that truly perfected the gold standard with its coin, the solidus. First introduced by Emperor Constantine the Great around AD 312, the solidus was a coin of exceptionally high purity and consistent weight that remained the dominant international currency for over 700 years. Its stability was legendary, earning it the nickname, the dollar of the Middle Ages. The solidus facilitated trade along the Silk Road and throughout the Mediterranean, its golden gleam a symbol of the wealth and endurance of Constantinople. In the medieval and early modern periods, Europe saw the emergence of a bimetallic system, where both gold and silver coins circulated side by side. Famous gold coins, like the Florentine florin and the Venetian ducat, became the preferred currency for international bankers and merchants, while silver coins, such as the German thaler, from which the word dollar derives, were used for regional trade and daily expenses. The relative value of gold to silver was a constant source of economic debate and instability. A new discovery of silver in one country could upset the economic balance of the entire continent. The ultimate shift to a global gold standard occurred in the 19th century, led by the British Empire. With its vast industrial power and global reach, Britain established the pound sterling, backed by a fixed amount of gold, as the world's reserve currency. Many other major nations, including the United States, followed suit. This created a period of relative economic stability and facilitated unprecedented growth in international trade. However, in the Sutsunsa, this system was inflexible. The supply of money was tied to the supply of gold, and in times of crisis like World War I, governments found they needed more flexibility, leading them to eventually abandon the gold standard in the 20th century. While the round coin has dominated monetary history, it is by no means the only shape that money has taken. Throughout the ages, cultures across the globe have experimented with a fascinating variety of shapes and materials for their currency, often dictated by practical needs, available resources, or symbolic meaning. These curious coins provide a unique window into the societies that created them. For instance, early Chinese currency included bronze coins shaped like tools, such as spades and knives. These shapes likely evolved from the actual barter of these useful items, creating a symbolic link between the old system and the new monetary one. One of the most unusual examples of non-round coinage comes from 17th century Sweden. The country was rich in copper but poor in silver. To meet its monetary needs, the Swedish government began producing massive copper plates, known as plate money. These were not coins you could carry in your pocket. They were huge rectangular slabs of copper, stamped with their value in the corners and the center. The largest of these, the $10 plate, could weigh over 40 pounds, nearly 20 kilograms. Moving this money around required a cart or a strong back, making it one of the most impractical currencies ever devised. In Japan, for a long period during its feudal era, coinage was not as widespread as in Europe. Instead, large blocks of precious metal, called oban and koban, served as currency for the wealthy samurai and nobility. These were large oval-shaped gold or silver plates, stamped with official seals and ink signatures to certify their value. They were more like portable ingots than everyday coins and were used for large payments, gifts, and the storage of family wealth. For smaller transactions, the Japanese used round, cast coins with square holes in the middle, which could be strung together for convenience. Even in more modern times, odd shapes have appeared. During periods of emergency or siege, cities have sometimes minted klippa coins, which are typically square or diamond-shaped, cut from sheets of metal in a hurry. From the 1970s to the 1990s, the island nation of Tonga issued a series of commemorative coins in playful shapes, including a coin shaped like a banana and another shaped like a flying fox. While often created for collectors rather than circulation, these unique coins remind us that the definition of money is ultimately a social agreement, not bound by a specific shape or form. The Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries completely transformed the way coins were made. The ancient method of striking each coin by hand with a hammer was slow, produced inconsistent results, and was vulnerable to counterfeiting and clipping, where people would shave off small amounts of precious metal from the edge of a coin. The invention of the steam-powered screw press, pioneered by Matthew Boulton in Britain in the late 1700s, changed everything. This new technology enabled the mass production of coins that were perfectly uniform in size, weight, and design. These new machines allowed for innovations that made coins more secure. One of the most important was the milled edge. Instead of a plain, smooth edge that was easy to shave, coins could now be produced with intricate patterns or lettering on their circumference. This made any tampering immediately obvious. The U.S. Mint, established in 1792, quickly adopted these modern techniques. Early American coins, like the silver dollar and the copper cent, were symbols of the new nation's sovereignty and its ambition to compete on the world stage. The motto, E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one, stamped on these coins reflected the union of the states. As the 20th century progressed, the role and composition of coins changed dramatically. The link to precious metals was gradually severed. The gold standard was abandoned by most countries, and silver was eventually removed from circulating coinage due to its rising market price. Coins that were once made of nearly pure silver, like the U.S. quarter and dime, became clad coins. They were made from a core of less expensive metal, like copper, sandwiched between layers of a silver-colored copper-nickel alloy. The value of modern coins no longer resides in the metal they contain, but is based entirely on government decree, what is known as fiat money. Today, coins primarily serve as currency for small, everyday transactions. Their designs have become a canvas for national identity, celebrating historical figures, famous landmarks, and cultural achievements. The United States 50-State Quarters program, launched in 1999, is a prime example of this. Each quarter featured a unique design representing one of the 50 states, turning pocket change into a nationwide lesson in history and geography. While their economic importance has diminished relative to paper money and digital currency, coins remain a durable and tangible part of our daily lives and a powerful symbol of nationhood. The long history of currency, from barter to stamped metal, is now entering its most radical transformation yet. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the very concept of physical money began to dematerialize. The rise of computers, the internet, and global financial networks has given birth to electronic and digital forms of currency that exist only as data on a computer server. This shift is as profound as the move from bartering cattle to using Lydian coins. We are moving from a world of atoms to a world of bits. The first steps in this direction were credit cards and electronic bank transfers. These innovations, which became common in the latter half of the 20th century, allowed people to make payments without exchanging physical cash or coins. When you swipe a credit card, no metal or paper changes hands. Instead, a series of electronic messages are sent between banks, verifying your identity and transferring a numerical value from your account to a merchant's account. This system is built on the same principle of trust as the Lydian king stamp, but the trusted authorities are now banks and financial institutions, and the medium is electronic data. The internet and smartphones have accelerated this trend exponentially. Services like PayPal, Apple Pay, and Venmo have made digital payments instantaneous and effortless. You can now pay for groceries, split a dinner bill with friends, or send money to someone on the other side of the world with just a few taps on a screen. Physical coins, once essential for any small purchase, are becoming less necessary. Many people, especially in younger generations, rarely carry cash at all. Vending machines, parking meters, and laundromats that once only accepted coins now readily accept credit cards or mobile payments. The most recent and disruptive development is the invention of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which emerged in 2009. These are decentralized digital currencies that are not controlled by any single government or bank. Instead, transactions are verified and recorded on a public ledger called a blockchain, maintained by a distributed network of computers. This represents a fundamental challenge to the entire history of money, which has always relied on a central authority, a king, a government, a bank, to guarantee its value. Whether these new forms of digital cash will replace traditional money remains to be seen, but they signal that the story of currency is far from over. The journey from a sack of apples to a string of code continues.